Introducing Airtel Online. We started off about 2 years back as an in-house company within the company with the sole aim of actually looking after our 220 million customers, from an online media standpoint. Very happy to state that on traffic, we are now larger than our next 3 competitors put together. And on throughput, I could say with a lot of pride that we are perhaps the largest non-travel e-commerce website in the country. And that makes us 4 times Flipkart, 3 times Make My Trip, and 6 times Snapdeal. We are now looking at more than 2 lakh transactions a day, and pretty much on a throughput reaching closer to the $1 billion mark, close to about 400 to 425 crores a month. So that's what we do. We pretty much now penetrated most of the geographies and screens. So if you look at it, from a postpaid and a broadband, close to 40 to 50% of our customers now actually deal with us, from an online perspective. In the meantime, we also became India's largest prepaid website within 5 months of the launch. Pretty much the most comprehensive telco portal integrating both our B2B as well as B2C sets. The first ones to launch the prepaid My Account. Lot of innovation actually in the digital space, integrating with Saavn, integrating with Ghana. And also the proud creators of the My Airtel app, which is on its debut became the #1 free app on iOS and the 17th on Android. We are close to about $1 million downloads and maintain a rating of 4 and 5 on the Android store. So that's what we are, that's what we do. All of this was done on the back of data-driven strategies. So I just wanted to create a context of what this whole presentation is all about. Is we are a successful company within a company, but none of this success would have been achieved over the last 24 months if it was not looking at what is it that we base our data on. Yeah. We are all drowning in it, and it looks very scary because there's lots of it around. So why are we certainly very, very bullish on data? Very, very straightforward. The storage costs fall in the network access, pioneered by guys like us. CPU costs, bandwidth costs, everything trending in the right direction. The bigger deal is, something that KPCB calls Solo-Mo, something that Gartner calls the Nexus of Forces. The first one, no surprise, we are the carriers who are powering it, is the mobile. Social, I have Kritika here. So Facebook pretty much, running the show in terms of activity streams, personal intelligence, group tasking, group sourcing. The cloud, just allowing us to change things on the remote very, very fast. And of course, the sheer information, the variety, the velocity, and the sheer volume of it. Now, what's happening is to the enterprise is these 4 forces not only come together, they also complement and interact with each other to just take it on to the next level. Now, Vivek was mentioning this, there is a term such as database of intentions. As of this point in time, all the customers are digitally broadcasting their intentions. Yeah? So we now know what I buy, what I want, who I am, who I know, what I am doing, what's happening, and where I am. Now, when the customers are thinking find, choose, use, and buy, what we have businesses have to do is actually tune in into these signals which are being broadcast. So when customers are finding, we have to attract them. When they are choosing, we have to sell. When they are using, we have to retain. And when they are buying, we have to just support. Yeah? So this is a very, very important point, and this is crucial to what this whole data-driven strategy is all about. Is customers now are digitally talking about stuff, and we have to just as good businesses tune onto it. Yeah? So where does one begin? Like all other things, begin with the customer. And this is pretty much central to what we at Airtel Online believe in. The first one is actually contextual journeys, and what we've done is we've actually positioned 2 years, 3 years down the road, what do we want our customers to be saying about us? Yeah? And this is really the first one, and I think the most important one is you understand my history, my current situation, and my desired destinations. Your recommendations are helpful, astute, and non-invasive. If we get our customers to say that about us, and this is encapsulated in the term there, contextual journeys, all of them digitally data-driven, we pretty much met our goal. The second one is engaging self-service, yeah? And this is what our customers want to say is interacting with you to manage my account or consider a purchase is always, always helpful. You never hard sell. You often surprise and delight me, yeah? Outbound precision, whenever you contact me, you respect my privacy, and we were talking about privacy the previous time around, and understand my preferences. Your messages are relevant, and this is very, very important. It's relevant and timed to perfection. Yeah? You deliver on your promises. Wherever I go, you understand and anticipate what's right for me. Now, these are very, very powerful sentiments, anticipation, and all of this is actually based on data. Okay? There and then, which is why I take you everywhere. Yeah? It is fun and invaluable having you there. You recognize and reward me. I appreciate the way you treat me. Your brand is cool. Whatever the channel, the experience is fresh and compelling and unmistakable. I am proud to be your customer. Yeah? And social networking. I trust you. Yeah? So do my friends. I enjoy being your advocate. Yeah? I'm glad to be a part of your social network, and I am glad you're a part of mine. I like you, as opposed to I'm proud to be your customer. Yeah? Now, these 8 tenets, these 8 dialogues is central to what actually means by being a data-driven enterprise. Yeah? Now, when we're looking at data enterprise, we're actually looking at 4 mega blocks of data. And all of the stuff is actually streaming at us. Some of it is actually streaming real time. Some of it is coming in a batch mode. Some of it is synchronous. Some of it is asynchronous. The important point is to triangulate, to triage between these various streams of data coming in. The first two is something that all of us, in the online world do, which is largely the click stream. My intentions, my history, my desired destination, my footprints on your store. And the second one largely are the ones which are related to engagement, the time that is spent on your site, the bounce rates, the exit rates. And this is actually fairly straightforward, plain vanilla stuff. The magic is when this data is triaged with the next one, which is the application performance data. And a very large reason, and this is especially talking about an emerging economy, is our websites are actually not fast enough or not structured enough, which means that our bounce rates, our traffic rates, our exit rates have to be triaged back to how well an application is performing as at that point in time. How well is the entire backend stitched, to the entire stack. So not only are you talking about performance measurement, you're also talking about problem resolution, you're talking about performance improvement all the time, you're able to handle peak loads, you're talking about production readiness, and you're also talking about performance reporting. So that when the traffic went up, your resources which are committed to that particular task are actually capacitized to the same extent. The third one is the entire set of franchise data, and a lot of it actually comes through offline surveys that we do. A lot of stuff comes through sentiment analytics on social media. A lot of stuff comes from just browsing through all the emails that the customers are actually telling us. And it talks about the customer involvement, it talks about opportunities to enhance the customer experience, it talks about entry into new markets, it talks about how are we influencing real world activations. You launched a campaign, have the 3G connections gone up? You launched another campaign, has suddenly iPhone usage gone up? So it's very, very important. You look at the sheer velocity of data. You're getting clickstream real time, you're getting application performance real time, but all of that actually has to be triaged back to real world offline behavior that's actually happening in the customer's world. So which is what we call franchise data. And like all other things, ultimately the magic is in triaging it back to financial data. Are your revenues going up? Are your costs to serve going down? Are customers who you acquired of fairly high quality, do they spend enough? And finally, are customers staying with you or are they churning out? Yeah. So these 4 blocks pretty much then determine your P&L and therefore ultimately your balance sheet. Yeah. Now this is crucial, so from an enterprise point of view, not only are we expected to collect these 4 sets of data, more importantly, triangulate and triage between them. Yeah. Which brings us to the most important thing, which is really the customer. And there are a lot of digital signals that the customers broadcast even when they haven't formally signed on. So even from an anonymous profile, you have these bits of data, and every extra bit of data further clarifies the entire picture. Yeah. So for example, some of the site behavior variables, triaged along with environmental variables and referral variables and temporal variables, and all of that back onto your offline, sets, and being a carrier, pretty much we have access to the device that the customer uses, to the location the customer has actually used it from, the average revenue that the customer is, generating for us. So triaging all of that, you have a highly predictable, profile, even though if it's anonymous. Obviously the offline variables, when they triage in, it does not make it anonymous anymore. So, a very important point, from a point of view of a lot of websites is you do not necessarily have to get your customers to log on to even figure out who they are or what they want. Yeah. The second important point is if the profiles itself are data driven, your personalization opportunities are also data driven. And pretty much very, very straightforward. Like I mentioned in the context driven, entire journeys. So your purchase history, location, social comments, personal preferences, search terms, email outreach, all of this can be merged along with some scenario and predictive analytics and actually deliver relevance. And that's the key point. What does personalization do? What does all of this data do? It is helping us deliver relevance. And when we deliver relevance, we actually increase the chances of acceptance, and that in turn leads to a revenue growth. And that's what pays for all the effort that you do in the personalization the first time around. Yeah. So the right content to the right people through the right channel at the right time is now data driven. Yeah. And that drives you to the next set is once you've personalized, your recommendations can also be data driven. And we just talked about various kind of recommendations, that is similar items, alternative items, high affinity items, searched items, most popular items. And where you place these recommendations is also very important, because then it's contextually relevant to what the customer journey has been. Yeah. Which brings me to the last frontier. This is where, the scientists don't come that often. This is where the digital agencies and, the entire artistic realm still reigns, which is really the user experience. Yeah. So what we're doing, and this is work in progress, and you should see the results of this at least 6 months down the road, is we are actually now creating a new property. The new website is actually undergoing a fresh revamp. And we're following a framework which is called PET, which follows the 3 tenets of persuasion, emotion, and trust. And obviously, like everything else that we do, it begins with a lot of data gathering. Okay? Not all of these are algorithms or formulas. A lot of this is actually very, very in-depth, qualitative type of analysis, which then feeds into a meme, which then feeds into a strategy, and finally ends up with a new website. An important point here is the channels should be leveraged in context of how they fit into the user's ecosystem. So whether it's the mobile site, the mobile app, the TV, the desktop, the tablet app, the tablet site, the call center, or the retail center, all of the stuff actually has to come together to actually create a seamless experience for the user. So who are our users? And I suspect this is true of every other site in the country. Yeah? There are 3 main type of Indian users, and we've called them the value seeker, the tasker, and the digital infant. The value seeker is a very, very experienced, and these are personas. These are not user segments based on purchase histories. These are user segments on how, these are actually personas on how they actually relate to online medium. Yeah? The experience seeker is actually the dude, he's been there, done that, is looking for the fresh deal, switches between websites, not very loyal to companies. The tasker is the responsible, 25 to 35, wants to get it done, be over and done with. And then you have the vast majority, which is digital infant, and this is what I focus on. Ditto for B2B, you have the responsible staffer, not the CIO. He is the commercial guy. He is the guy who's actually done all the procurement. He is the guy who actually interacts with you to make fresh orders and fresh supplies. And then you have the CIO. And both of them are actually 2 very, very different kind of personas. So when we are designing the online set, we are acutely cognizant of the data streams that these 2 people be generating separately. A little more about the digital infant, and this is where we start putting flesh and blood into all the qualitative analysis that we've been doing this work. So, just to give an example, Chennai-based consultant now works in a financial firm in Delhi, has one bad experience shopping online and has shied away from internet transactions ever since. Not so tech savvy, but very brand loyal, and a lot of interest in value-added services. What she expects is, when in doubt, expects guidance and care, rewards and being made feel important, needs help with decision making, and to be informed about the latest trend. Yeah. So, mapping this whole thing back onto the digital ecosystem, and more importantly, and this is the crux of it, this is where actually data is now driving design. Okay, all of us actually have blocks, barriers, as well as drives. Yeah. So what has to be done is, your design actually has to help reduce the blocks and help increase the drive. And these are examples of what Lekha, what we call the digital infant, would feel. Yeah. I feel like I'll lose money if I do any transaction here. Yeah. So that's the block. Yeah. The drive is, I am taken care of. So there is brand and there is support and there is trust. And in each set, we are actually mapping whether it's an emotional thing, an heart thing, or is it a persuasion and a trust thing, which is a mind thing. Yeah. So there's a heart and a mind which is involved in actually getting the entire design through. Yeah. So pretty much what happens is, in the 3 stages, which is either discovery or exploration or delivery, the drives and the blocks are both mapped, and the design actually has to take into account all of these. Yeah. So whether it's education, or whether it's cross-selling or promotioning, or actually selling the fact that we care, all actually has to be built into the user journey. Okay? And none of this is actually intuitive. A lot of it is actually driven by in-depth interviews, analysis, segmenting the whole set into personas, and then actually getting the wireframes out. Yeah. So what I pretty much wanted to talk about is, being data driven is not just about advanced analytics. It is not about click streams. Is it not about getting the latest algos out? Okay? It is about getting the culture right, is that every decision that we take is actually based on some data, and that actually helps us to just make sure we move on to the next frontier. Yeah. And my sense is, we're playing in the early innings of a very, very massive phenomena which is playing out there. And the impact of empowering billions of people around the world with real-time connected devices has actually just begun. Yeah. So Airtel Online, everything anywhere. Thank you.